Oh my god. What I have right here is a Mercedes-AMG A35, and this is a very important car. It signifies your entrance into the world of AMG, which is Mercedes-Benz high-performance cars. But the question is, what's it like to daily this car? Can you live with it? Does it sound like an AMG? And is it worthy of the badge? Yes, technically this is your entrance into the world of Mercedes-AMG. So this that I have here is an A35 hatchback, because yes, you can also get this in a saloon body shape as well. Now, if you have an A-Class at the moment, or you're thinking about an A-Class, you might be wondering, well, what's different compared to like the standard like AMG line model? What do you get this different on, say, like a Mercedes-AMG, for example? Well, let's have a look at that very quickly. Well, compared to a normal A-Class, you'll have some AMG elements, of course, dotted around the entire car. So the first thing that caught my eye, for example, was this badge here. Normally just the Mercedes-Benz logo, but AMG signification everywhere. And the thing that you can't miss is, of course, the grille. No, this one does not have the many Mercedes-Benz stars that a lot of models always have these days. This has what used to be the AMG Pan America grille, but then they changed the wording to AMG specific grille. But I love this grille. It's just got that kind of aggressive stance on the road, coupled with the power domes, of course, on the bonnet as well. It makes for a very striking front end, and I absolutely love it. And the lights as well, they used to have a reverse tick formation, but now they're just kind of like a straight line going this way. But yeah, absolutely love the front end of these. They look extremely sporty and just, yeah, AMG all over. So yes, even moving to the rear as well, they actually have real exhausts on the back, which Mercedes are kind of famous for not having kind of real exhaust. They usually have kind of like exhaust trims on the outside, but then the exhaust is like right up underneath. But no, these are very prominent here. And you'll notice as well, there's even like a mini spoiler lip as well. But this is what also I found quite interesting, because when I was doing some research on the A35, I noticed they had a thing called the Touring Edition, which had the larger spoiler, which you would typically find on an A45S. But then there's also a couple of packages where you have like the more kind of subtle approach, like this one. Now, I'm actually kind of torn both ways when it comes to the spoiler on Mercedes-AMGs, because if I had the choice between the two, I actually don't think I'd mind. I do appreciate that some people want the more subtle approach like this, but then some people, when they're kind of going for an AMG, they want everyone to kind of go, hey, look at the car that I've got. I think I might go with the subtle approach, just because it's almost like a wolf in sheep's clothing. So people might be guessing as to what is actually under the hood. But I don't know, let me know your thoughts below. Now, when it comes to the interior, of course, the AMG subtlety continues. So from AMG styled seats and AMG logos dotted everywhere, and you'll even find these AMG dials. More on those later. Now, prices in the UK start from £46,000, obviously correct at the time of recording. This is for the hatchback. However, you can also go for the saloon as well, which is just a few £100s more. Also, when you are shopping, one thing to note, you know I mentioned about the spoiler. The spoiler, weirdly, is actually standard on the Touring Edition. But if you go for premium, which this car is, this is one with a kind of more subtle spoiler, almost like a spoiler lip. But then if you go for Premium Plus, that spoiler is then reintroduced. So just something to bear in mind if you're not sure about whether or not to have a spoiler. Now, this review would not be complete without some dimensions, so here they all are just in case you need to know them for the hatchback as shown here and the saloon. And one other thing, guys, as well is, well, the key. Take a look at this here. This is the Mercedes-AMG key, all in high gloss black, and yeah, I think it looks really smart. It is, of course, as I mentioned, in high gloss black, so it does show lots of fingerprints and little minute scratches and things, but if I was to choose between this and the standard key, I think I'd choose this one just because it looks really smart. And there aren't many models in Mercedes that have a black key. I really like it. But guys, if you're loving this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And of course, I do also have a members only area as well, which has behind the scenes content, and you can even watch next week's video before everybody else. Right, on with the tour. Now, when it comes to the boot on the hatchback, the boot capacity is 370 litres, as you see right here. However, if you go for the saloon, believe it or not, the boot capacity is actually bigger. It's larger, it's 420 litres. But it's very important to note that the opening is obviously slightly different. So hatchback, obviously, the glass goes up kind of with the boot. But if you go for the saloon, the glass is fixed and it's just the very back bit that goes up. So slight difference in the opening. could kind of make it or break it depending on what you're going to put in the boot, luggage. For me, I have a dog, so a saloon wouldn't be that suitable. Obviously, these are things just to factor in. Now you can also fold the seats down, which is a 40-20-40 split, which is pretty good. Once the seats are down, it goes up to 1,210 litres. So again, pretty good. Although one thing I will add, having owned an A-Class myself for the past year, sadly not an AMG though, the headrests, due to their size, do catch the kind of front seats if you have like a kind of more further back driving position, which I do have myself. I have very long legs, which we'll get onto in a second. But yeah, other than that, very, very good. So guys, when it comes to the rear seats, now there isn't that much room in the back here. This is a hatchback after all. This is set up for my driving position. I'm 6'2" with very, very long legs. So this is why I have to have the seat a little bit further back. There's a little storage net just behind the seat there as well. A single USB-C port down there, vents for the rear, and of course storage on the doors as well. Then of course there's Mercedes-Benz's fancy cup holders in here that open just like this. So yeah, all good there. Headroom's good as well. If I remember, I think the headroom in the saloon was very, very similar. It might have been slightly bigger when I did a comparison of the hatchback and saloon back to back. But yeah, my hair's not touching anything. There's about 3-4 fingers above my head. So cool. Right, well, let's have a look at the front. Now, when it comes to Mercedes-Benz interiors, they are amazing. They are so, so good. This is almost identical actually to my own daily car, which is an A-Class. As I said, sadly, it's not the AMG, but yeah, you can literally spot a few things I mentioned earlier from the AMG wheels here, which we'll go through in a minute. But yeah, just kind of speaking on the design, widescreen going across here looks absolutely beautiful. Ambient light down here as well. Climate control down here, and of course various storage areas and things here. So we'll do a little tour first, and I won't spend too long in here because I'm itching to get this out on the road and show you guys what it's like. So we'll spend just a couple of minutes just going through this. So in here are 2 USB-C ports for charging. So there was 1 in the back, 2 here, and over here there is another one there. So 4 USB-C ports in total with a 12-volt socket and wireless charging there for compatible phones. There used to be a touchpad here. Sadly, Mercedes removed this on the facelift and just kind of left this kind of like crevice here. I don't really put anything in there, but I don't miss the touchpad. I just use the touchscreen, and most cars only just have a touchscreen anyway, so not the end of the world, although I know a few people did really, really like touchpad, but no, sadly it's all gone now. Of course, cup holders are here as well, and there's a couple of buttons down here, and climate control all here, which are buttons, I should add. So you can operate it via touch if you want to, but otherwise they are very, very satisfying clicky buttons. Then we have the storage over here on the door, and it's actually reasonably kind of sized. I've actually got like sunglasses, like a cloth there for cleaning and that sort of thing, because, you know, high gloss everywhere. I do like to keep it remotely clean in my own car. And of course, then we have the steering wheel here. Now, this is all touch, apart from a couple of buttons down here, which are the AMG wheels. But basically, these bits here are all touch, so you swipe up and down to control various different things. And I will add, there's some really cool AMG menus and things and animations on the instrument cluster compared to a normal A-Class. But back to the steering wheel, it is all touch, so I know that some people aren't a huge fan of touch, and certainly in like a high performance car, the last thing you want to do is like turn the steering wheel and accidentally swipe something, which technically speaking is a possibility. So as long as you keep your hands away from the center here and keep them you know, on the outskirts, then you'll be absolutely fine. Love the design. I just wish these were buttons, as I've mentioned in other videos before. Now, when it comes to these AMG dials, they can do various different things in here, from changing the drive mode. So you've got comfort, sport, sport plus, and individual as well. So you can make your own custom mode. Then on the left-hand side, you have a couple of buttons, so you can actually press these in and change what each button does. So you could have the top one for adjusting the suspension, for example, and then the bottom one could be for changing it from auto to manual, so you can do the gears manually. And speaking of, the paddles are slightly larger in an AMG, and they do make a very satisfying, it's not really a click, but very confidence-inspiring clunk that you are changing gear. Now, having featured Mercedes-Benz's multimedia system in a lot of reviews, I know this system very well, and it is very, very good and very easy to use. I would describe it as very intuitive, to the point where you actually don't need the manual. You Could read the manual if you want to, but it's so easy. The most common things you're going to use are phone, navi, radio, and then media for playing any music. And of course, if you're not a fan of using the inbuilt multimedia system, there's wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto now as well. You can plug it in still if you want, but it's good to have that wireless functionality. Even things like the sat-nav, for example, are super easy to use. You can just go where to, hello Nicoleary, where do you want to go? Type in where you want to go up here, and it will come up on the left, and
please proceed to the highlighted route.
And then you can finish it with the little finish flag and the stop symbol there and the mute button just underneath. So again, very, very easy, but again, smartphone integration, CarPlay and Android Auto is there as well. So I won't run through too much on the multimedia system just because I have dedicated videos on that multimedia system and like a complete walkthrough guide, which I will link below if you wanted to check that out. I think it's about an hour long to go through everything on there, so I won't do it in this video. We have got some driving to do. Now, when I've reviewed some Mercedes before, I do get some comments in the comment section down below. Is this a true AMG? Because I get that it doesn't have the plaque. So if you guys don't know, with a lot of AMG engines that Mercedes-Benz make, they have a one-man, one-engine philosophy where they have one person assemble the entire engine, and to signify their work, they put their plaque with their name on the very top of the engine. Now, this is not the case on the 35 engines. You will find this on the A45S, for example, and like 63 variants and 65 variants. But when it comes to 35s and 43s, sadly, no, you don't get that kind of plaque on this type of car. So yeah, you have to let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because this engine, as powerful as it is, can put out 306 horsepower. And if you compare its 0 to 62 with the original A45S, it's around about 0.5 of a second slower. And that was plenty fast. So this is more than capable as like a daily car if you're kind of wanting that kind of cutting edge. But there again, I get it. If you want something a little bit more pokey, A45S will deliver. So guys, if you want me to review that one and make a dedicated video on it, let me know down below as well. All right, guys, let's do a sound off. Does this sound like any true AMG out there? Because I reviewed one very recently, which was the CLE 53, and that was mighty quiet. You barely knew that there was anything powerful in the engine. And also, I want to see if this does emotion start. There's a hidden thing on some Mercedes where you can hold the paddle and then it starts louder. I don't know if that's on this or not. There's only one way to find out. No, I don't think they've got emotion start anymore. That's disappointing. I mean, I wouldn't use that daily anyway, but I mean, it was cool, but damn those EU regulations. I'm sure it's them anyway. Someone in the comments could probably let me know. Well, let's do a sound off then. And in Sport Plus. Oh yeah, it does make it just a little bit louder. Hear the difference? So Comfort and Sport Plus. Cool. Let's get it out on the road. Now this is a fun car. So I haven't told many people this. I used to have an A250 AMG. It was called A250 AMG for some reason, engineered by AMG, even though it wasn't an A45. And it's taken me back to having that car. Annoyingly, when I had that car, the one thing it didn't have was 4MATIC. So 4MATIC is Mercedes-Benz's four-wheel drive system, or all-wheel drive, and just gives you that much-needed grip, because I wouldn't call myself a boy racer, but I was finding the front wheels would spin up a little bit, but just having 4MATIC really adds to it, especially in the UK, because, I mean, well, look, the roads are a little bit moist at the moment. It's winter's coming. Oh, that poppling at the back is good. So I guess a few of you might be thinking, could you daily this car? Yes, absolutely. I did toy with buying an A35. I was like, oh, do you know, I'd love one of these. but I know the added cost, but more on the cost in a minute, because I saw something the other day which blew my mind, but I'll come to that in a minute. But I wonder if this has launch control, or what Mercedes often refer to now as a race start. Okay, race start. Let's do this. Oh my god! That thud of how it just kicked in. Wow. I wasn't expecting it to be that brutal, to be honest. This is a whole world of fun. I have driven the A45S a few times before, and another thing is, well, described as a weapon, whereas this is just a little bit more tame, a little bit more manageable, not as firm on the road. And then note on the suspension, actually, it is adjustable in this car, so I can actually press this button down here and make it comfort. Well, we've got Sport and Sport Plus, so you can make it just that little bit firmer if you want to give you that extra grip. And I think it's very welcome, because I think an A35 is probably going to be one of those cars that people would daily more than like an A45S. You could daily an A45S, but the suspension difference between the two is night and day. 45S is rock hard, and the seats, if I remember, are a little bit firmer as well. So yeah, again, as I mentioned earlier, guys, if you want me to do the A45S, let me know down below. And the thing I love as well, I know I mentioned that 4MATIC system, it just sticks to the road like glue, so it just gives you confidence that as you accelerate into this corner here, it will deliver. You won't find yourself spinning out to a bush like a rear-wheel drive car, for example. I have noticed there is a little bit more road noise in this car, and it's probably due to the larger wheels. I'm only comparing that to, like, for example, to my my A180 on the other side of the A-Class spectrum. But I would trade it for this in a heartbeat. I'm just going to show you on the screen how quick it changes gear. So I'm going to put manual, and we're going to go Sport Plus. Just put it into suitable revs here. So third, snappy, look how quick it changes. And you can even change it, put some different animations on here as well. So this is my favourite, because the orange here looks like fire. Oh, come on, that looks cool. Brings out the kid in you. So as always, we kind of get to near the end of the video. What are this car's pros and cons? Let's talk about it. So let's start with the pros first. Now, this is definitely one of the most affordable AMGs that you can get. It's literally there in the A-Class. The only thing above that would be like A45S and then like CLE kind of territory, that sort of thing. But yeah, A35, it's a brilliant entry point to the AMG world. Now, one thing that I found fascinating, now I don't talk about offers and finance prices and that sort of thing on my channel, but this caught my eye. Basically, as a lot of you guys know, I have an A-Class myself. It's an A180, 1.3 litre petrol, so a little bit slower than this one, quite a lot slower. There's an offer on the A35 at the moment that makes it, I think it was like an extra £2,000 in as a deposit, and it's about the same price per month. How? Why? Oh man, if that was there when I bought my car, I definitely would have gone for this. I don't know how that works. Must be something to do with the kind of balloon figure and that sort of thing. But anyway, yeah, just thought I'd mention it. The other two pros before we get onto the cons are its compact size, because A-Class is brilliant for, you know, parking around town. It's not too big, dimensions are good, boot size is adequate as well. So just being that compact size but giving that fun factor of a hot hatch, brilliant all round. And of course then, I do love that engine and gearbox combination. It is night and day difference between, like, my car, for example. I love my car, but the snappiness of the gearbox in this and the power it delivers, it's so instantaneous. I didn't even talk about as well the mild hybrid tech that's in this car. The previous A35 didn't have that, but the mild hybrid tech in this is like it's like an extension of start-stop, but it can help accelerate you just a little bit, gives you a little bit more kind of a boost. In fact, that's actually what Mercedes used to call it, EQ Boost, years ago when it was introduced. But it just gives you a little bit more power, a little bit of electric. And the cool thing is, you don't need to do anything. It just works. gives you a bit more power, charges up over time. So all round, snappy engine, snappy gearbox, pretty good. I struggled to pick a few cons for this car just because it was really impressive. The cons that I chose for this car, number one was that the exhaust is on the quieter side. Now it sounds really good when you're driving around and, you know, accelerating, going through the gears, got little popples on the back, but when you first turn it on and when you first start it up, it isn't that impressive. So for example, like if you go to a dealer and I don't know, you just ask to hear what it sounds like when you turn it on, it doesn't sound that great. I just wish it had a bit more of a throaty kind of feel when you turned it on, but when you're driving, oh, it sounds good, as you heard. The last one is the kind of, well, the rear seat legroom isn't amazing, but again, that's like for me because I've got really long legs. So the rear room isn't the best, but it is a hatchback after all, so there are other cars that Mercedes-Benz have if you want a bit more space in that kind of department. I think this is the most important con of them all, and it's the fact that it's a 35. Will you, when you have this in 6 months' time, be thinking, should have gone for the 45? I don't know. I don't think I would, just because I know how much firmer the A45S is, how much more brutal it is in its power delivery. So I don't think I would, but I know some people out there might be like, should I have gone for that? So yeah, you have to let me know in the comment section down below, guys. Do you agree with me on those points, on the pros and cons? I think it's a cracking motor, and yeah, I mean, if it had the same offer that it had you know, last year when I bought my car, I might have just somehow squeezed together some extra pennies to pay for it. I mean, yeah, I guess the running cost would be slightly higher on this because it's an AMG and four-wheel drive, but puts a smile on your face. Wow, there we go then, guys. That concludes this week's video on the Mercedes-AMG A35. Would you daily this car? Let me know in the comment section down below. Huge shout out as always to Sandown Mercedes as they help provide access to this week's car. Huge shout out to them. But guys, thank you so much. Until next time, see you then.